This fossil, recovered from what was the Topige coast, shows a specimen of Pholios extradextra, a kind of sucker descendant in a clade called Maraca worms. Pholios extradextra was a veil worm, a small filter feeder which lived in soil too soft for the much larger filter feeding pipes to anchor to. Here, this individual is sticking its head above the soil, unfolding its feeding fingers to capture passing biomatter, such as the developing young of other species, or small discophytes. Maraca worms, unlike their relatives the eelworms, do have a semblance of a through gut, although both mouth and anus are at the front of the organism, allowing Pholios extradextra to expel its waste into the water without moving at all. Between its mouth and anus is a simple stomach right below its brain. Yes, these worms do have a brain, as well as a much more defined head region, which in some species can be covered with a hardened protective cuticle. Also on their head, around their mouth, is a reproductive skin patch, through which they secrete gametes, which are dispersed in the water around them. Besides veil worms, there were other two large Maraca worm clades, the handmouths and the head diggers. Handmouths primarily lived underground, like their smaller eelworm relatives. They had a variable number of feeding fingers, which could be open and closed around their mouth and anus like a flower. Unlike in veilworms, these fingers were hard and stiff, used to dig through sandy terrain and in some species, to tear chunks of zooshroom roots which they ate. The smallest clade, the head diggers, characteristically lacked the feeding fingers usually found in Maraca worms. There is very little information about this clade, as it seems most of them were outcompeted by their larger relatives quite quickly, except for a few species which seem to take advantage of pre-existing tunnels dug by large eelworms or other worm-like species. Whether these head diggers were predators and ate the tunnel's previous occupants is still up for debate. And that's it for this entry. This is Hnrrienkast signing off.